Hey, what is going on, guys? In this video today, we're going to be going over the new fastest way to get better at Fortnite. So as most of you are probably aware, about a week ago we got a pretty big new update that mainly revolved around the Fortnitemares event that they're doing. And since everyone was so focused on Fortnitemares and all the changes it made to the game, it allowed another really interesting part of the update involving creative mode to sort of fly under the radar. Now, since for some reason Fortnite doesn't really release full patch notes to the public anymore, we don't really have an official statement on what exactly they did, but basically creators can now make pretty much any of their maps have public matchmaking enabled. I'm not sure if anyone can do that. I heard it may only be people with supporter creator codes, but pretty much all the most popular creative map makers have one of those, so it isn't a huge deal. Now, if you aren't really sure how creative mode works, you may not understand why this is a really big change, so let me explain it a bit. As you probably know, every week or so, Fortnite makes about 10 different maps featured in the Creative Hub, and when a map is featured, you can walk up to the portal, hit enter matchmaking, and it'll put you into a queue, and you'll get close to a full lobby of random players who are also queuing into that specific map. That public matchmaking on featured maps was a really great addition because it meant that you could play full lobby games of zone wars, box fights, and many other modes whenever you wanted, pretty much. However, as great as that is, it also isn't perfect by any means. The first and arguably biggest problem is that sometimes Fortnite would just feature really terrible maps. Zone Wars maps with outdated weapons and items, box fight maps that were like fully underwater so you move super slow, maps that were either way too big or way too small, you get the idea. And the problem was that Fortnite almost always only did one box fight or Zone Wars map per each hub refresh, so if the map was terrible, your only option really was to wait a week or so for the next hub. And then, even when you did get full games, there was always the problem of people leaving due to the long downtime if they died really early in the round. So a lot of times you'd start the game with 12 or 13 people and think it was going to be great, but then by round 4 you'd be down to 5. And since these maps were designed for nearly full lobbies, once people started to leave, it would just ruin the game entirely. The other problem with these public matchmaking maps is that they never really featured any 1v1 maps. It was almost always designed for 10 plus players, so if you wanted to do a 1v1 build fight or 1v1 box fight and you didn't have a friend to play with, you basically had to try your luck with creative fill, and if you've ever tried that, you probably know the experiences can be a little scuffed to say the least. So with the addition of matchmaking to a lot of the most popular maps out there, a decent amount of these problems are actually somewhat solved. Now, since this feature is still being rolled out, I don't think it's a fully finished product yet, but let me give you a basic overview of how you can use it. So first off, you're going to need to start up your own private creative lobby, but unfortunately as of right now, there's no way to queue into individual maps directly from here. So what you need to do is run up to a portal and load up what the creative map designers are calling a matchmaking hub. This hub can include either multiple maps or just one specific one. The most popular multi-map hub as of right now is made by Enigma, and it is possible that changes in the future, but for the sake of this video, we'll just use this one. Once you enter the code and jump into the portal, you'll be taken into a pretty open room with some maps towards the outside corners. As of right now, he has a Zone Wars map, a 1v1 box fight map, and a 1v1 build battle map, and I believe he said he's going to be adding more maps into the future and frequently featuring the most popular maps available. From here, all you need to do is walk up to one of the pictures and hold X/square to enter the matchmaking queue for that map. For me, I was having a little bit of trouble with the 1v1 box fight map. I think it might be glitched or something, but I was actually finding people in the 1v1 build battle queue pretty quickly most times. That's not always going to be the case depending on the time of day and probably also region you're playing on, but this is still a really cool option that gives you some of the best possible practice to improve as a player. An example of a single map hub would be one that Raider made for his 1v1 aim duel map. You load in and you can choose to queue into a 1v1 aim duel either with or without aim assist. So I expect that as certain hubs gain more and more popularity, or maybe even Fortnite makes it so that you can do matchmaking of specific maps without even using a hub, this is going to be an absolute game changer for getting super high quality practice. Imagine being able to get a 1v1 build fight, box fight, aim duel, or anything else against another real player whenever you want it on good maps without having to deal with creative fill. So now that we covered that, I actually want to spend the rest of this video highlighting a really interesting string of tweets I saw regarding improving as a Fortnite player a few days ago, and it kind of challenges some of the consensus opinions about the fastest ways to get better. So this was actually a 15 tweet thread created by the account 1UP Analytics, which does a good job of covering Fortnite really in depth. I'm not going to read it all because that would obviously be a lot. I'll just highlight the 3 to 4 main points that were made. So he starts off by saying, I recently read a book on learning science that covers a range of different studies in the field and summarizes strategies for learning more effectively. While reading, I thought of a few applications of these strategies to training in Fortnite. The first one comes from a 1978 experiment which showed that varied practice is more effective in the formation of motor skills. In the experiment, 2 groups of children practiced throwing beanbags at targets. One group practiced throwing only at a target 3 meters away, while the second group spent half their time practicing on a target 2 meters away, and the other half of the time on a target 4 meters away. Each group was then given a final test to see how accurate they were at hitting a target 3 meters away. You would expect the first group to perform better since their practice resembled the final test much more closely than the second group's, yet the second group actually performed significantly better. Fortnite players often spend a lot of time trying to practice exact movements that they feel are utilized in-game, for example edit courses, but the human brain is very good at adapting to specific situations once it has a good grasp of the general physics of how something works. And a bunch of studies have found that varying an environment in which you study or practice something, that actually improves your ability to recall that information when in a separate testing environment. That's not to say that grinding the same edit course or aim trainer every day won't result in improvement over time. In fact, you'll probably see solid progress within the course that you frequently complete, but if you find that these results don't quite transfer as well to in-game scenarios, try mixing up the courses that you practice with. It seems common for players to load up an aim training map and go through each individual exercise one by one. It would be much more effective to interlace these exercises, doing a little bit of each and randomizing the order in which they're done. So that kind of backs up what I've always said about game modes like zone wars, box fights, or build battles. They're so good because you're working on multiple different mechanics at the same time. In a build or box fight, you do a lot of building, a lot of editing, and there's also a big dependence on shotgun aim, so you're constantly varying what you're working on, and it's not in like a linear progression like an editing course would be. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you watched the entire thing, be sure to let me know with a comment down in the comment section below. Little bit of a random question here, but I'll just ask it anyway. What is your favorite minigame to practice on? Is it zone wars, box fights, build battles, realistic 1v1s, or anything else? Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.